Somebody testify. You need it in the sea. You receive it. You need it. Somebody testify. Well, good morning, everybody. What a beautiful morning it is this morning. If you will stand with me and greet those around you.
We're so glad you're here this morning. This is All Saints Sunday. We celebrate those saints. We'll be defining who the saints are in a little while. But before I go further in the welcome, I want to remind you that we also have our Dia de Muertos altar up here this morning. This is how our Hispanic brothers and sisters also celebrate the saints. And so, as we did upstairs in the other service, people have brought pictures today. If you have brought pictures you want to lay on the altar as a way to remember your loved ones. And you children, while you're out there today, if there are people you want to remember, and your moms and dads and grandparents can help you, you can draw their name or a picture and also bring it up here today. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit at Children's Moment. But these are tangible ways to remember those who have gone on before us. So please feel free to take advantage of that this morning as much as you would like. Our hope and our prayer every single week, honestly, really is that you connect. And that's why I call your attention to the Connect card. Our hope and prayer is that you connect with each other, that you connect with the larger body of Christ known as Newburgh United Methodist Church, and ultimately, that you connect with Almighty God through a relationship with His Son, Jesus the Christ. So please take advantage, and we invite you to fill out the front of this card. It's our way of celebrating your presence, and we're thankful that you are here this morning. On the back of the card is an area for prayer. Who is on your mind? What's on your mind this morning? It may be celebrations. I want to especially welcome those of you that came today specifically to honor and remember your loved one. I know that's a challenging thing to do. But please know that we can put on here, on this prayer card, whatever's on your heart this morning, and we'll pray for you. If it's confidential, please mark it that way at the bottom of the card. We take that so seriously. And we will make sure it doesn't go any further. So otherwise, we put it on a prayer chain, and our staff prays for you on Tuesdays when we get together. So please take advantage of this card as you feel led to do so. And we're very thankful that we have these. You can place them in your buckets on your table. You can hand them to one of us this morning, whatever you feel most comfortable with this morning. And I am really pumped today because on this first Sunday, Pastor Suzanne, since she's on vacation, I get to spend time with the kids. So I want to invite all the kids to come up this morning. Come on up, kids! Good to see you this morning. Come on up. Hi, come on up. Sit down here and hang out. How's that sound? How are you? Are you guys still got a lot of sugar in your system from Halloween? How many of you ate candy? Yeah, how many of you cleaned up and got like a ton of candy? Very good. How many of you went out in the cold? I am so impressed. You know, we had some kids that came to our house and they braved the cold and they got tons of candy because they braved the cold. So I'm thankful that you got to do that. So glad you're all here. So I got to tell you something today. Did you know that mommies and daddies and grandparents and other adults in our lives, they don't like to make us sad? Did you know that? No one likes to tell us sad news. I don't like to tell you sad news. And so what we're going to talk about today is that sometimes news to me here is sad, and we celebrate All Saints Day. Did you say saints? Okay. So on this All Saints Day, over here, we have this altar. We also have candles over down here. And we have an altar over here. We're going to do communion a little bit. We're going to do the bread and we're going to do juice. It's really cool. And we remember Jesus. But this altar is to remind us, and for some people, it's a bit of a sadness today. It will get better. So on this altar, we have candles, and candles always remind us that God is right here. Now, there are our church, meaning our not just this church here in Newburgh, but United Methodist churches all over the world. We have friends that are Hispanic. That means Mexican and Spanish and all over the world and speak that language. And this is the way they remember people that are no longer alive. And that's what makes it kind of sad news. And I will say to your parents today, parents, I'm fully aware that one of the hardest conversations we feel we have with our kids is about death. I want to flip that today, as you'll hear throughout the message, but understand that the sooner we talk about such things, the less difficult it becomes. So on here, I want to show you just a couple of pictures this morning. So I have a picture over here, and that's my mommy and daddy. You can pass it around. And they're in heaven. My mommy and dad are in heaven, and they're with God, and they died a few years ago. And I want to remember them today in my heart. Here's another picture. Can you pass that around? That is a person named Mr. Jim. And when my daughter was your age, Mr. Jim lived next door. And we had no idea how close they would become. And Mr. Jim is in heaven. And when Mr. Jim died, my daughter was sad. So every year, our family remembers those people that are in heaven. Now, I'm not so sad today because heaven's this really great place. But I wanted you to know that today, we have different pictures up here of people that are remembering people that they love. Sometimes it makes us sad. But here's what I want you to know. I want you to know that God always loves you. And even when things happen that make us sad, and not just death, when things die, right? When you put it on the table for us, put it on the table. Sometimes we have goldfish, and they die, don't they? Or maybe a pet that makes us sad, right? And I want you to know that here at the church, and I always tell you, Pastor Zen does, we always tell the truth, right? We know that sometimes we get sad, and I want you to know that's okay. It's okay to be sad. And when we come together and we are sad, we remind each other that God is always here with us, and that helps me, and I hope it helps you feel better. Did you know that church is a great place to come to? If you're feeling sad, happy, upset, angry, it's a safe place. You know what I mean by a safe place? It means that, yeah, go ahead. You can say something. What do it mean? That's right. He says, so when you're sad, you can just come here and feel better. That's absolutely right. When you are sad here in the church, people don't make fun of you if you cry. When you are happy, people don't make fun of you if you're mad. Yeah, what do you want to tell me? And when you're here, God makes you feel better too. So you think kids don't get it? Kids get it. So I am so proud of you today because I wanted you to know that you get to stay in the service. So there's a couple things I'm going to invite you to do while you're in worship today. Number one, if there is anyone or any pet or anyone that you're sad about because they're no longer here but are in heaven, if you want to, if you already know how to write your words, you can write their name. If you want to draw a picture, you can. At any time today, any time in the service, you're allowed to get up and you're allowed to put that picture right here. Okay? All right? The other thing is that later in the service, we're going to have communion, which is so cool. We get the bread and the juice. But I'm going to be talking today about how God helps us when we are sad. And so as you hear things today, or maybe have questions, be sure and remember those, and you can ask me or mom and dad afterward. But I'll be talking to you today, too, because you can stay the whole time. And I'm so excited. Isn't that cool? So everybody understand? One-on-one, you can draw pictures if you want to. And if you just want to draw a picture, you can always do that. I put them on my door. But if you want to draw a special picture today about something that's made you sad, you can bring it up here and put it right here in the altar, okay? And then the other thing is to listen today to see what I'm going to talk to you about how God helps us when we're sad. Okay? Are you ready to pray? All right, we're going to pray. Here we go. Dear God, thank you for making us so special. We love you. You love us. And that's pretty cool. Amen. All right, you guys, we're counting on you. Go back to the table, get set up this morning. Rock and roll those pictures, friends, all right? I think that's awesome. That's okay. I can stand, that's right. I can stand down here if that helps. They're telling me there's no lights in the spotlight on me. They actually think they won't get really hot, so. If you can't see me, just listen to my voice. Just listen to my voice. This morning, as we go into this next part of our service, I'm going to invite Joyce Pundit to come forward with us today. Joyce is our parish counselor. Where are you? There, come on up, Joyce. Joyce is our parish counselor. And we're going to play a prayer video for you that leads us into this next time, which is our All Saint Remembrance. In your bulletin, you will find an insert. On that insert, you will find a list of names. These names specifically are all those who have died and gone to be with God in the last year. That does not mean you're not thinking about other people as well, but these are the folks that we lift up every year. This long list is long on purpose because we invited anyone in the church that had a loved one who passed away this last year to feel free to give us that person's name and or picture so that we might lift it up today. And it's important to us not that it's only for the members of the church, but when folks that are part of our congregation feel the pain, P-A-N-G, of death, and need to remember, we want to give you that opportunity. As we prepare to read these names, if you'll watch the screen, and this will take us into this time. After we say each name, or as we say each name, you are invited to stand if that is someone that you specifically want to remember, honor, or that has a connection with you. So feel free to stand at that time and then be seated as we go to the next name. Please bless us.
A prayer meditation for All Saints' Day. We give you thanks, O God, for all the saints who ever worshiped you, whether in arbors or cathedrals, wooden churches or cement meeting houses. We give you thanks, O God, for hands lifted in praise, manicured hands, and hands stained with grease or soil, strong hands, and hands gnarled with age, holy hands. We thank you, God, for hard-working saints, whether hard-hatted or aproned, blue-collared or three-piece suited. They left their mark for you, for us, for our children to come. Thank you for the sacrifices made by those who have gone before us. Bless the memories of your saints, and we learn how to walk wisely from their examples of faith, dedication, worship, and love. Amen.
Let us celebrate the saints that have gone on before us. We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Brittany Belushi.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of James Solomon.
We celebrate the life and we lift up the name of Sue Rice.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Mary Tadford.
We celebrate the life and lift up the names of Bob and June Scales.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of John Lyberger.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Anne Wayman.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Reverend Margaret Bader.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Jim Brennan.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Sue Henshaw.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Linda Skaggs.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Edward Phillips.
celebrate the life and lift up the name of Merrill Life.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Evelyn Matthews.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Christy Berger.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Kate Raven.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Karen Beal.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Thomas Barrett.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Ann Naylor.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of David Pruitt.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Seward Ireland.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Jan Florence Wheelerman.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Robert Manassian.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Cecil Jim.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Bob Keller.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Lloyd Ashby.
We celebrate the life and lift up the name of Barbara Griebenstrom. We celebrate all of these lives and commend them into God's continuing care. I want to remind you that at the conclusion of our service today, everyone that would like will have the opportunity to come forward to receive a rose petal from me, that you might place it in our bowl of remembrance as a continuing act of honoring and remembering. At any time during the service, if you'd like to light a candle as well, please do so. All of these are ways that we remember. Praise be to God. Thank you, George, very much. Each one of these names, as well as all the names that are before us, that are with us, often on a daily basis, are offerings to God. We often forget that one of the experiences we offer to God is ourselves. And all of these folks that have gone on before us have been an offering to God, and that is why it's appropriate that we lifted them up today. As we come to our weekly offering to God, we offer ourselves, our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, the pictures the children will draw, their time that they're here, their wonderful glimpse into the Almighty that we get only from the mouths of these children. So we invite you to participate as you feel led. We have buckets on the table. You can place items in your prayer card. We invite you to bring them forward during this time and place them in a larger receptacle at each end. The other one's on the end of this altar and the other over here. As a continuing act of worship, you may come forward in your room.
Good morning. As we remember those who have gone on to the church eternal, often we find ourselves in a situation of not knowing what to say to others. In addition, we often do not have the words to express our own feelings. This passage reminds us that Holy Spirit powerfully fills those gaps. This means that shows holes in our hearts, holes in our relationships, in our day, in our plans for the future, begin to mend as God lovingly continues to cover us in love and grace and encourage us to keep on living in the shadow of death. Will you please stand for the reading of Scripture? From Romans chapter 8, verses 22 through 27. We know that the whole creation is groaning together and suffering labor pains up until now. And it's not only the creation. We ourselves, who have the Spirit as the first crop of the harvest, also grow inside as we wait to be adopted and for our bodies to be set free. We were saved in hope. If we see what we hope for, that isn't hope. Who hopes for what they already see? But if we hope for what we don't see, we wait for it with patience. In the same way, the Spirit comes to help our weakness. We don't know what we should pray, but the Spirit Himself pleads our case with unexpressed prayers. The one who searches hearts knows how the Spirit thinks because He pleads for the saints, consistent with God's will. May we plead to God on behalf of our grieving brothers and sisters today. You may be seated.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that this morning. I think one of the important pieces to start with today is what is a saint? We have some strong misconceptions as to who a saint is. Part of that comes from Catholicism, not because what they're doing is incorrect. Please don't hear that. But we often associate saints with the process of Catholicism of when a person is made into a saint and rises to sainthood. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about are the saints of not only of old, so to speak, but the saints of today. So who are those saints? Those saints are the people of faith. Suffice to say, saints are the people of faith, which means that you are a saint as part of the community of faith. Now, most people are not comfortable with being called a saint. It makes us uncomfortable. It's a good moment, but we tend to think only of people as being saintly if they are people that work with middle school, let's say, or that work with kindergarten, let's say, or that work in challenging professions that deal with everything from addiction to life and death, emergency rooms, so on and so forth. We tend to say, gosh, that person is a saint. Paul is defining for us the reality of what a saint is. And in Hebrews chapter 12, it talks about the cloud of witnesses and those are the people that have gone on before us. So yeah, there are some saints whose names are maybe we consider bigger than others. There's a St. Augustine, St. Constantine, Polycarp, who was a great bishop during the first century. We often remember Mother Teresa and say, wow, now there's a saint. And yet she herself was always trying to get off the pedestal and remove the halo. She said, simply know that my ministry is to be with people in the street when they die so they don't die alone. Saints are people of faith. And so it is not a statement about our perfection or lack thereof. It is a statement about our relationship to God. And so today we celebrate saints. Specifically, we celebrate those saints who have gone on before us to be a part of the kingdom of God in heaven. And so that's an important piece for us to understand. That those saints that have gone on before us, it's not that they are better than we are. It's not that they are honored above us, but we honor them because they are no longer here with us. And so we can't honor them in the same way. So boys and girls, I want you to know that one of the ways that we can talk to people when they're no longer with us is through prayer. And to remind you that praying to God and asking God to check on the people that you love that may be in heaven or may be moved away is an okay thing, a good thing to do. Prayer goes all over the place. It's much stronger than any internet connection. And it never goes out. So you don't need to be connected to Wi-Fi in order to talk to God about maybe even your sadness or the things that you're feeling. But as we prepare to go in the passage, let's deal with the practical piece, shall we? As we come together and remember and celebrate the saints, there's a practical piece that is still with us, and that is the whole. There's the whole, H-O-L-E, that's in our hearts, and there's also the whole, W-H-O-L-E, that we feel is no longer there because the person is no longer with us. We're trying to find a way to fill the void. To fill the void of the missing person. The missing love, the missing relationship. And we need to acknowledge that practical reality as we see what Paul says to us and the encouraging and powerful word about God's part in this experience. So as we attempt to fill the void, to fill the hole, to be whole again after a loss, how do we go about that? Well, let's put this in context today. You've got 3 chapters right together, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to focus on a piece of 8. But in chapter 7, I want you to aware that what Paul is talking about is his struggle to stay on track under the law of the church. And he always felt he was falling short. One of the neat verses that he talks about, he says, the very stuff I want to do, I don't do. And the very stuff I don't want to do, I end up doing. Have you been there? Have you been in those situations when you're trying to do the right thing or the good thing, you're on a certain track, and you end up doing the very thing that you're working not to do? That makes you human. And as part of the human condition, that is what happens, that tension. So chapter 7 is devoted to the challenge of living under the law. Then we skip over and go to chapter 9, and Paul has this really compassionate chapter where he's talking about the Jewish people who have rejected the divinity of Jesus, meaning they don't recognize Jesus as God, and he feels heartbreak for them. He's grieving. So now we want to focus on chapter 8, which is going to help us this morning as we work through our own memories and honoring of the saints. Chapter 8 is all about life in the Spirit. And suffice to say that the whole chapter can be summarized by saying, the Spirit sets us free. What's that mean? It means that regardless of our situation and state in life, the Spirit of God is there to free us up of our baggage, of our hurt, of our problems. It doesn't make our life rosy, but God is with us in the midst of all those things. So let's get to the specifics. In verse 22, Paul says, all of creation is groaning. All of creation is groaning. What are they groaning for? They're groaning for the relationship with God that will end their suffering. All creation is groaning. But it doesn't stop there. Now he personalizes it. And he says each one of us. It's not only creation that's groaning. Each of us are groaning. What are we groaning for? Paul says each of us are groaning to be adopted by God. Now I want to pause for a minute and talk about the fullness of adoption. In our society, adoption is both a legal and a relational experience. What does it mean to be adopted? It's not just about having someone's name. It is about someone becoming a literal member of one's family. And a family that is not biologically one's own. Paul is saying we all grown to be adopted by God. And when we struggle under the law, we struggle with the realities in our lives, we want to know that God still loves us so much that God wants us to be a part of God's quote-unquote family. And that's a fact. And so Paul says we're groaning in this and we want to be adopted. So what else is the Spirit going to do for us? In the midst of our groaning to be adopted, an experience happened. We find ourselves in situations that we would say are powerless and in a state of weakness. I tell you, one of the things we don't do well with as human beings is weakness. We don't want to be seen as weak. When we talk about being weak and being in need, we see that as an unhealthy state only. We see that as having to ask others, and we think that that makes us less than a man, a woman, an adult, or a person of faith. That is so far from the truth. Weakness is a reality of the human condition also, and there will be times when we will feel weak and powerless. And it says that the Spirit comes to us, in verse 26, that's the key verse. The Spirit comes to us in our weakness. Why? That's when God does God's greatest work. Because when we're weak, often we're vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, God is the one that never takes advantage, but is there in the midst of our vulnerability to lift us up, strengthen us, and to move us forward. But we're fearful. Why? There are too many people, human beings, that want to take advantage of others when they are down. But that's not God. Secondly, he says, Not only does the Spirit come to us when we are weak, but the Spirit, when we don't know what to pray, the Spirit groans for us. I love this. One of the things that we believe too much is that there is an answer for everything. Not true. We also want to believe that there are words that we can always say for every situation. You go to a Hallmark store, there's some cards you're not going to find about every situation. And there are times when we find ourselves in situations where there are no words. And that is okay. And as part of my ministry over these years, I've certainly been in plenty of situations where folks will ask me a question and say, why did this happen? And I have no words. I have no words. I have my presence. I have my faith. I have my reminder of God's love in the midst of awful and ugly and messy situations. But that does not mean I have answers. When cataclysmic things happen in our world, folks are always looking for the reason. They're always looking for the reason. I'll never forget, and this was some years ago, I'll never forget how important it was to me. The hurricane came in and hit New Orleans. And the televangelist got on the tube. And they were all saying that the reason, you love this? The reason that the hurricane hit New Orleans is because of all that sin down there. I guess they had never been to the church I was serving. I guess they had never been in my community. I guess they never sat with me because there's sin everywhere. They were looking for a reason to convict that whole community to death. Now, what I want you to understand is that for me and for Paul, that's so inappropriate. Because he says the Spirit comes to us in our weakness and speaks for us when we don't have the words. So when you don't have the words, I encourage you to let God do the talking. Not you. Let God do the talking. And the ministry of presence is very powerful. And I'm not talking about pastoral ministry. I'm talking about you. Many of you are sitting out there with your kids today. You kids are sitting out there with family today. Do you think that is not making an impact on the lives of those who are sitting there? It is. It's creating dominion. And so Paul is reminding us that God is present with us throughout all of these experiences. So when it comes to celebrating the saints, what gives us that ability? Even though it's bittersweet and we're hurting, God gives us the ability to remember the life and not only focus on the death. To remember the life and not only focus on the dead. The church welcomes and invites the brokenhearted. That's who we are. If you're brokenhearted, this is the place to be. Because we firmly believe that God begins to mend the brokenhearted, and over time and with faith, God continues to mend the brokenhearted so the holes begin to be filled and the holistic void begins to be renewed. And that's why on this All Saints Day, we celebrate those who have gone on before. And we remember on purpose and with intentionality, lest we forget. It's incredibly appropriate today that as we celebrate All Saints, we also celebrate the Sacrament of Holy Communion. And before I call the stewards forward and before we actually go to the sacrament, let me remind you first of all that in the United Methodist Church, as part of the Christian faith, everyone is invited to the table. No one shall be left out, no one excluded. If you're unable to come forward, we will bring it to you. If you choose not to come forward, that's perfectly fine. We want you to know you're all invited. But to lead us into this time is a prayer of what I call, well, it is a prayer of forgiveness, but also illumination. I'm going to get out of the way. It's going to be on the screen. And I'd like us to read this together. And I'm less concerned that we're all saying it exactly the same time. Most of us will. But I want you to personalize yourself. It's written in the first person for a reason. So this is a prayer for each of us to address Holy One and to be admitting of who we are. So I invite you to join me now in this prayer. Holy One, there is something I wanted to tell you, but there have been errands to run, bills to pay, arrangements to make, meetings to attend, friends to entertain, washings to do, and I forget what it is I wanted to say to you. And mostly, I forget what I'm about or why. Oh God, don't forget me, please. For the sake of Jesus Christ, oh Father in heaven, perhaps you've already heard what I wanted to tell you. What I wanted to ask is, forgive me, heal me, increase my courage, please. Renew in me a little of love and faith and a sense of confidence and a vision of what it might mean to live as though you were real and I mattered and everyone was sister and brother. What I wanted to ask in my blundering way is don't give up on me. Don't become too sad about me, but laugh with me and try again with me, and I will with you too. If the communion steward would come forward at this time to prepare for Holy Communion. As we celebrate communion today, another piece that I want you to be aware of is that in addition to the bread that we will have with our communion stewards, you'll see a table over here on the table. Oh, here it is. It's right up here on the altar, excuse me. We have gluten-free bread for anyone that is not able to have gluten. And we will uncover that, but you will actually get that yourself so that we don't contaminate it. So as we come to the table for communion, let us give thanks to God for these elements. Gracious God, we give thanks for this bread, your body, this juice, your blood, and pray that as we eat and drink of it, we would remember you. And Jesus asked that we remember him. That we remember him in the broken bread. He said, take and eat, for this is my body, which is broken for you. And take and drink, for this is my blood poured out for you and for many. Do this in remembrance of me. Allow me to serve our servers, and then they will serve you. And now please know that all is prepared for you. You may come forward when you're ready and participate in Holy Communion. sins are forgiven. Thank you so much. They put this, it says hope. Let's have hope today. As we conclude the service, two things. One, anyone that would like to, I'll be standing on the floor and I'll have these rose petals. And you can come forward and get a rose petal in memory and honor of your loved one and place them in our bowl of remembrance. And on Monday morning, I will scatter them lovingly in a memorial garden outside. They will not just be thrown away. Secondly, I said the church welcomes the brokenhearted, so I need to pray for two people from our church. Jamie and Sean Tisper are missionaries. They're brokenhearted. And they called this week, and with all they've been through there, they're going to have to come home for 2 months. They need to come home. They need the support of their faith community. They need the support of the church. And they're embarrassed because they're coming back from Haiti, and they want to be able to stay. And here's what I told them. I said, I'm your front man of the church. Don't fear coming back after what you've been through. Knowing that you'll be embraced, prayed for, and loved in whatever way that we can. So when I say the church welcomes the brokenhearted, I'm a man of my word. Whatever you go through, whatever you're experiencing, this is not a place to be embarrassed or shamed, but a place to keep your heads held high as forgiven people. Knowing that God loves you for who you are, where you are, and whose you are. As they continue to play, you can come forward and get rose petals, and then we'll conclude our service. There will be no benediction today.